away we go on a Monday edition, the Monday after the 4th of July edition of Mr. Relevant. I'm Alex Strouf with you from the Gerber offices. One call, that's all. Studio at the Avenue, downtown Milwaukee. Joshy DiMaggio is here. Full-time Will on his first full-time day is not here. He's at the office. He's just not here for Mr. Relevant. Hunter Vaughn, of course, though, is Tiny Hands, is back in the Everlight Solar Studio in downtown Madison. We actually have a ton of stuff to cover today that I want to get to that maybe we missed over the course of the last couple of days with the holiday on Friday and everything that went on over the weekend. I want to get to all that. I do want to talk about Brandon Woodruff returning to the Brewers. I do, as you guys know, if you've listened to this program on the first Monday of the month or second Monday of the month before, you know how big of a fan I am of the Murphy Takes 5 columns, Mark Murphy's monthly column on Packers.com. The final one came out on Saturday. So I do want to discuss that a little bit, as he was called can I say what he was called, Joshy?
I don't know exactly what you're referring to.
It would be the equivalent of an anus.
A bleep hole?
Yeah, a bleep hole.
I wouldn't.
Okay, then that's what he was called, though. You get the idea. We're going to get to all that. But Hunter Vaughn, hardest working man in showbiz today. Ryan Wollersheim and Jesse Nelson are both off, so Hunter's like running content over at ESPN Madison today. So he's been a part of everything today, including Wilde and Tausch, which just came to an end about a half an hour ago. But I heard something at the end of Wilde and Tausch that we need to hash out here, because Tausch kept saying, I'm not going to do it, and then I only did it a little bit. And I'm just curious by the whole thing. So, and fascinated by it. So before we go anywhere, I'm going to give Hunter the floor. And I want you to explain from your perspective what occurred on Wilde and Tausch that caught everybody's ears, including mine and Josh's.
During the Whoa Nelly segment, which is supposed to be about sports, usually ends up being about the producer's personal life. I brought up the fact that I went to see the new Brad Pitt F1 movie and how it was a great experience and we need more racing movies. And then one of them asked who I went with. And I just simply replied, I went with my mother-in-law. And they were like, with your wife there too? I was like, nope, just the two of us. And they were fascinated. The talk and text line lit up. The comment section blew up. And I don't think this is that big of a deal. And I don't understand why everyone's making it a big deal.
I want to stop before we go any further. Just a quick little timeout. Did you realize, as you were saying, I went with just my mother-in-law, that would be its own topic? Or was that simply a fallout that you didn't see coming?
I did not see it coming at all.
At all?
Nope. I didn't think this was weird at all. I didn't think that was at all the big part of the story, but apparently it is.
I'm fascinated by that.
I am also.
Because to me, that immediately stuck out. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think Tausch phrasing it as unique is accurate.
Unique would be a good word choice.
Unique is certainly accurate. Is this the first time you and your mother-in-law have solo done something together?
Yes, it is. I'm just trying to think back. I mean, yeah.
Oh, this is the first time ever.
Yeah. I mean, maybe anytime we've been in the car, Sarah's been there, my wife, so yeah, this was the first time. I mean, it was a 20-minute drive to the theater and then a 2.5-hour movie, 20 minutes back.
Wait, did you pick her up?
We were staying at her house for the 4th of July holiday.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that actually sheds a little bit more light into how this became a thing.
Yeah.
Because in the way it was explained, that detail was never revealed. So you were not like at your apartment with your wife, who then went to lunch with a friend from high school. And you were like, hey, I got nobody to go with. Let me text my mother-in-law. This was, hey, we were all together. They were going to do something. And you were like, oh, well, we can go do something too.
Yes.
Okay, this makes a ton more sense.
Okay.
I think that's a crucial detail that was left out. Because, look, frankly, if I have a free afternoon and my significant other is out of the house, I don't think the call I am making is to my mother-in-law, which I think is what all of us heard that you did was, hey, my wife and her, and as we've discussed on the show many times, I don't know if you've discussed this on Wilde and Tausch, but your wife has an identical twin sister.
Correct. Yep.
And she lives in a different state. I think we've talked about that on here as well. So she must have been home for the holiday.
Yep.
And they went out to lunch. You were at your in-laws' house, and you say, "Hey, okay, well, we can go do a movie or do something." That would be where my head goes and how we got here.
Yeah. So I knew I was going to go see this movie earlier in the week then with her because they had planned the lunch, and her mom was like, "Well, I want to go and see this movie. Like, would Hunter want to go see it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Like, I have no problem with my mother-in-law. I like spending time with her, and I like movies. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go and do that.
Okay, so now I have more questions that just have to do with once we get into the situation. So your wife and sister are driving separately from you and your mother-in-law, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. So who drove?
I drove. So my sister-in-law flew into Madison. We picked her up. She had stayed with us for the week, and then we all drove over to Racine, and then so they took my mother-in-law's car to go to lunch, and then we took my car to go to the movie.
Okay. Who paid?
She paid for the movie ticket. She snuck in a can of soda, and then
Nice.
I bought
How do you
myself
play?
a soda and some Twizzlers.
No popcorn?
No, the movie theater.
Twizzlers, huh?
The movie theater popcorn gives me tummy troubles. I don't know what it is, but it's
Probably that fake butter. It's delicious.
probably,
delicious,
and
but
it's
it's not
actually
good for you.
like coconut oil or something.
Yeah,
So yeah,
probably.
it's a bad time.
Okay. Oh, wow. All right.
I do think would have been the fact that you got invited by her also adds a degree of almost I feel obligated in that scenario.
There is definitely a level of obligation.
Instead of you being like, I really want to see this, do you think maybe your mom would want to go? I do think it does change the level. I've never heard of anybody else doing this, but the circumstances at which it took place
makes a ton of sense.
do put it in a little more context, almost to the point where I don't know if I was approached with that same scenario exactly the same, that I wouldn't feel like I have to do it.
See, but I never once felt obligated. Like, Sarah brought it up to me, and I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, did not think twice about it, didn't hesitate. My wife, now that I think back on it, she, like, double-checked with me that I was cool with it.
Yeah, that's... that. I
Which
think
maybe should have been a red flag that, like, people don't find that normal.
I was going to say, I feel like your wife is, I don't want to say uncomfortable, but is less gung-ho about the idea than you were. Like, I think she recognized it's not totally common.
Particularly, I don't know if normal is the right word. Common is probably
Common,
the
right?
right word,
It is unique. It is a rare occurrence.
Yeah. Yeah. When I heard this, I was like, "How did we get there?" And naturally, there was more to the story. So, what part of the state were you in?
Racine.
Okay, got it.
So went to the Sturdivant Marcus Theater. Great theater. Had never been there before.
All right, I'm just looking at Tausch's tweet. So he tweeted, "Is it unique to go?" He just doesn't do English well sometimes. Let's try to clean this up. Is it unique to go with your mother-in-law to watch a 3-hour movie while your wife grabs lunch with a friend, or is this totally normal? Ryan said unique, yes, but nothing wrong with it. Jerry Judy said, I'm sure it depends on the movie. Kind of awkward, I'd think, if it were Titanic or 50 Shades. But I guess if she covers the tickets, hey, you do you. With that said, I'm in the definitely unique camp. And then somebody said, are you talking about Mission Impossible? Which we are not. We were talking about F1. I've heard that's a good movie, but disappointing ending. Accurate?
I wasn't disappointed with the ending at all. I thought it fit with the movie. I thought it was a great theater experience. Like one of the better theater experiences I've ever had. It was such a well-done movie.
Was there a romantic scene as part of the movie?
Great question.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes! What happened? What happened? Explain the scene. Spoilers now.
Okay, spoilers now. So, Brad Pitt's the main character. Former F1 driver, had an accident back in the 90s. He rejoins this now modern team and is trying to help this team get from being bottom feeders, very similar to a Bad News Bears. The lead technician is the only female lead technician in F1. And then from the start, they like are flirting, and like there's the witty repartee that comes from that. And then eventually there is like 10 seconds of them kissing in a hotel room, and then it cuts to there's a knock on the hotel room door, and they're both like lying in bed with the sheet over them. But then that's it. So
Okay, not too bad.
yeah.
Yeah,
Still a little uncomfortable.
I was uncomfortable in that moment. I didn't expect that until they like those two characters first meet, and I knew what was coming because I've seen enough movies, and I was like, this could get awkward.
So
this
what
is
were
an
you
adult
dreading
movie.
that eventual scene then, thinking anytime you saw them alone together that this could lead to some uncomfortable situations?
It was in the back of my mind, but because the movie itself was so well done, I was like so focused. Like I was nerding out over the editing during that movie. So there were parts of the movie where I'm like, I wasn't even listening to the dialogue. I was nerding out about the way they were cutting during the races. It was so good.
Okay. I think that answers all my questions.
I do think you lucked out in terms of the scenes of passion. You certainly got lucky that it wasn't more graphic.
Scenes of passion.
Especially considering this was made by Apple and they're basically trying to buy their way to an Academy Award. I realized that as it was happening, I'm like, oh no, I might have to get up and go to the bathroom. Like I was just about to ask, did you think about that at any point? But clearly not.
I have another question. Did you guys sit directly next to each other, or did you give the buffer seat?
There were so many people in the theater, we weren't going to be able to do the buffer seat.
Oh, big pull for F1 on a holiday weekend. Okay.
I mean, it was a big it was a big weekend for the theaters between that and Jurassic Park, which I also went and saw. Not nearly as good as F1. Jurassic Park sucked. Watch it on streaming. Watch it once so you can say you watched it, and then you can forget about it.
Chef Ed chimes in. Usually the mother-in-law is the third wheel with you and your wife. Seems odd to me, says Chef Ed.
So there's also a level of this that I just don't understand from guys. Like, I feel like guys, I went into when Sarah and I were dating, like, I want to find common ground with my mother-in-law. Like,
well, of course, yeah.
And like, I was very intentional about that. And like, oh, this isn't just a like, oh, I'm trying to figure out if I want to marry Sarah. Like, is this a family that I want to join and be a part of? And so like I made a point of like trying to have some sort of a friendship with my mother-in-law, and I was clearly able to do that. But I think it's weird when guys are just like instantly like, oh, that's my mother-in-law. Like, no.
Well, I don't think you need to necessarily dislike your mother-in-law, right? I don't think that's necessarily the thing. I think it's more so one-on-one time is few and far between, if ever.
Yeah.
Because
which I think is more on the guys than anything else. And I think as guys, we should be better about that.
Yeah. I just don't. So Mussolini's mother.
Yes.
And I give her books. She and I have like similar interests.
She goes to the library of Josh DiMaggio?
She does. She is one of the many people to do so. But past that, like, we both golf, but she doesn't golf a whole ton. I golf with her father more. I don't know in this situation what I would do if I was asked to go to a movie that I had genuine interest in, because mirroring the F1 movie to me, I'd be like, I really have no interest in going to see that. So that wouldn't really move the needle for me. Like, I think there is a degree of I want to see that movie that has to be here other than I got asked to go to said movie. There is also just, to be quite frank about it, a long history of misogyny and mothers getting bad thoughts about them.
Bad rep.
Yeah. Throughout the history that certainly doesn't apply to any of the relationships I have found myself in, but there is a degree, and let's be honest, I've witnessed some mother-in-laws that you would say, oof, that's got to be a tough time.
Good luck, yeah.
It's certainly not all of them.
Right.
But there are certainly those relationships with father-in-laws too, where it's more of a challenge than it is like, oh, I had a good time with them type deal.
Yeah, I again just go back to like I from the start wanted to do everything I could to avoid any of that.
Good man.
And I just think I think we need to, as guys, be more upfront about that to avoid that. So I had a great time. I would do it again.
There you go. All right.
Do you ever see yourself?
No. You don't even need to finish the question. No. You?
Not exactly the same. Do I see something where it's like an author we both like is having an event, and I'm like, yeah, we could get a signed book,
right?
and
But here's
to
the thing:
a talk.
I just don't see a scenario in which my girlfriend would not be a part of it.
Yeah, that is the interesting thing, because a lot of times in those situations, yours was unique because there was pre-established plans that yours got made behind Hunter.
Right.
But I think in most cases of my husband and my mother-in-law would like to go to this, you're probably just tagging along in most instances.
Correct.
But
like even if you want to be there or not.
Sarah really does not like movies. Like it was I'm very proud of the sell job I did to get her to go see Superman with me later this week. Like that's the level of she does not like movies.
Oh, did you use us? I mean, you've brought it up on every show since you've asked us. So did you use us as like hey, I asked Strouf, Joshy, and Will, and they won't go with me.
Came in that day after that first time I asked you guys, and I was just like, man, this is really disappointing. Like I really want to go see this movie. Like I wanted to share it with my friends. Like I sold it.
You got to do what you got to do now.
That's well done by you, honestly. Because I don't think you expected a yes from us, but you can certainly use the no to your advantage.
Right.
Which is well done by you.
I would have appreciated a yes because I think about it from a standpoint of Strouf. If there was a concert and your girlfriend was like, yeah, I don't have any interest in that. And you were like, well, maybe Hunter, like, even if he's not super into this, like, I'd come over to Milwaukee and go see a show with you if you didn't have somebody to go with you.
That's good to know.
I'm sooner to go by myself. I've done that quite a bit.
I've done that with concerts.
Yeah,
they're fine. I prefer having somebody to go with, but I'm not afraid to go alone.
Yeah, and what ends up happening a lot of times is I run into somebody I know.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, well, this person is here.
The only time it didn't happen to me, shockingly, was the first time I did it, and that was a Shinedown concert, and that was, I think. That would have been the last time I saw them, I think. So the fifth time I've seen them. And so I was like, I would imagine I'll know somebody. And I ended up seeing some guy at the end of the show who I knew. But I made a friend with like a 50-year-old woman who bought me a beer. And, you know,
can we discuss your concerts from this weekend?
Sure.
You went to see what I gather is a man or woman.
It's a man.
Who dresses up in a costume.
Yes.
A Sasquatch costume.
Okay, but before you, and I will get to this in a moment. It's a Sasquatch costume. They play the saxophone. It's called Sax Squatch.
Yes.
But Josh,
it's movie quality.
I need to make it very clear. That wasn't the main attraction.
Right.
That was a sideshow.
Of course. Well, somebody in a Sasquatch costume, movie quality, put it, would be is inherently lends itself to sideshow.
Correct. So this was Saturday, the final day of Summerfest. I made it to 7 of 9 days this year of Summerfest. So I think I finished at 26 acts, just about all of them in their entirety.
Are you trying to like set a high score? Is that what we're trying to do?
I was trying to beat last year's score but I wasn't able to because I didn't go all 9 days last year.
He's trying to become the king of Summerfest. That's what this is.
No,
I think he moved to Milwaukee.
I think specifically since I moved to Milwaukee, I've always gone to Summerfest several times a year, as long as I've had my driver's license. But yeah, I think I'm trying to set a high score. I keep track because me and my girlfriend do this thing. She accompanied me on all but 2 shows. She showed up later one day, this past Thursday, the 3rd. So I saw 2 bands without her. But we keep track of everybody we see, and then we like make lists. So like I come up with prompts afterward. Most surprising, most disappointing, most, and we rank our top 5 favorite shows. So that's a fun little thing we do. Yeah. So Sax Squatch was Saturday at 6:30.
Did you stumble on it, or did you look into it and say, "Well, this would be fun to see"?
It was the latter. I have seen him on the internet before. And
Facebook?
No, TikTok.
Yeah, he's big on TikTok.
And I said, this is trippy as hell. I need to see what the crowd looks like. I need to see what it's like in person. It was fun. It was dancey. It was upbeat. There were a lot of drugs being done, not by me, but by others.
It covers. I can't imagine there's many sax
It's all covers.
originals happening out there.
All covers, but like songs. Then he adds a saxophone solo.
Correct.
And it was super upbeat. It was fun. It was warm. Like everybody was dancing, having a good time. It was the last day of Summerfest, and then obviously that led into like the acts I was actually there to see, which was Rome and Dorothy and Third Eye Blind and Dirty Heads. So.
Rome being the guy from Sublime?
The guy who was with Sublime, yes, correct.
Who was upset that he got replaced by the Sun.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's him, yeah. He went on a long diatribe, to use your word, about how this is one of the first times he's seen his name on the billboard that doesn't have Sublime attached to it, and how it was a really proud moment for him. And it came off both grateful and bitter at the same time, which is those are hard two emotions to evoke in the same sentence.
Yeah.
So I that was an interesting pop by him. Yeah, female-led rock band Dorothy. Known a few of them, but we watched them for, I don't know, maybe 50 minutes. They were really fun.
Did you not go out of your way to see Baby Metal?
I avoided Baby Metal.
That's strange to me, because that is like, to me, that is something where it's like, if I'm there, I'm going to go out of my way to see it.
No,
it is so unique.
The number one band I wanted to see is one that I have been two ships sailing in the night with for years and years, it feels like, and that's Third Eye Blind, where I ran into Mussolini.
Yes.
Great to see her. And so Third Eye Blind was big.
I saw Third Eye Blind once at the rave, and the lead singer forgot the lyrics to Semi-Charmed Life.
He did not this time.
He has a long storied history of drug abuse.
Okay.
Quite an enigma. His personality wise, he's like one of those tortured genius type of. He makes brilliant music.
I would just say this: he sounded good, didn't look good.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's an on and off relationship with him and his health and where he is mentally. But I do know there have been people who have had absolutely awful times.
Okay. I thought they sounded really good.
And then there's been people who've said it was incredible.
It was absolutely packed to the gills. And I couldn't see the stage. They were on the BMO Pavilion, which is on a hill, and we were like downhill, like over the, it goes up, and it kind of goes back
the
down.
hill crested.
Yes, the hill crested in front of me. So I got the screen experience, but the sound at that stage is awesome. So Summerfest was great. Sax Squatch was a trip. That was a trip. I'm glad I went.
The reason I'm so fascinated by that is I don't like something where it feels like you're doing a gimmick to me. Like,
so I typically agree with that.
Like the gimmicky nature of it immediately makes me go, I'm not interested because I don't want to take part in the gimmick.
Yeah. My doctor chimes in the chat. Hey, Strouf, any more abdominal pain? I'm good, Doc. Thank you.
This is the one who on air diagnosed you during KBN with what was likely to be a kidney stone that you passed.
That is correct, and I have not had any abdominal pain since.
Issues since then have subsided.
So, for those of you that missed it, last Monday, one of the wackiest shows we've ever had in the history of the show, I was in abdominal pain the entire show. I had an issue, sorry to say it, urinating prior to the show, and it pained me a lot. I did the whole show with pain, and then I urinated after the show, and the pain went away.
Telltale sign.
Correct. And then Doc diagnosed me on KBN. He just said, "Excellent news. You're clear." Thank you,
Have
Doc.
we now, since that moment, have we taken a focus to better hydration?
Yes.
And we feel good.
Yeah, this is my first soda since that happened.
I'm sure Doc is a little disappointed to see it.
It's been a week.
Made 7 days.
I made it a week.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I took it easier. I took it easier in terms of the alcohol this weekend.
I was going to say, have you scheduled an appointment with a primary physician? Maybe tried to get in to see a urologist then? Make sure everything's okay?
I don't know if the urologist is necessary at this point, but I would say a physician is, and that is priority number one once I get back from vacation, which I am going on Wednesday.
That post vacation.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
You might want to schedule that out now.
Yeah, that's probably
usually
true.
pretty busy.
That's probably true. I know it takes a few months, but that is part of my goals once I return from vacation.
Well, I'm glad you're on the mend. I'm glad you're on the up and up here.
Doc says water, water, and more water. Should I finish it for him quick?
Chug it.
Chug, 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 chug.
There we go. There we go. We're all right. We're living. All right, let's get to a bunch of sports stuff real quick that I want to fly through because so first off, State of the Packers, for those of you that missed it, that is going to fill the next 3 editions of Mr. Relevant. Wednesday, Friday, Monday. We are still going to have shows, but they will be pre-recorded. They will be from State of the Packers with myself, Gabe Neitzel, and Jason Wilde from over the weekend. For those of you not familiar with what that program is, we get 3 hours, 12 to 3 it was on Saturday, the final day of Summerfest, and we use each of those hours to go through kind of a State of the Union address type thing, minus the address part. It's more an evaluation. Hour 1, state of the offense. So we go position by position, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, offensive line. Hour 2 is defense, defensive line, linebackers, cornerback, safeties. And then hour 3 is like state of the organization is what I've dubbed it the last few years. But that's more state of the head coach, state of the GM, state of the NFC North. Where is this team ranking? And then ultimately how we view this season's floor and ceiling. So those will be your next 3 editions of Mr. Relevant, Wednesday, Friday, and Monday. As I am on vacation, I leave Wednesday for I'm going out west a little bit, a couple different locations out west, and I will be back next Tuesday, and next Wednesday is Mr. Relevant. So I don't want to entirely unpack what that show was, the contents of that show. I just want to give you my grand takeaway from State of the Packers. And Joshy, I'm curious to get your opinion. And then one nugget that I know you and Gabe Neitzel have both talked about before that I have walked away from in terms of the wide receiver group. So my big takeaway from State of the Packers was it feels, and this is a Joshy DiMaggioism as well, the Packers lack superstars, right? And it doesn't feel like they have a ton of bona fide superstars. I think Josh Jacobs is one. I think Xavier McKinney, you could certainly make a good argument for. And that's about it, right? You've got up-and-coming guys who you feel really good about. I think Jordan Love is one of them. I think Edgerrin Cooper defensively is one of them. And there's some other guys where you feel good about their future and the way they are going to evolve in this league because they're such young players. But if you want to compete for a championship in 2025, to me, you need those steps to be taken quickly, right? You need Edgerrin Cooper to look like a top 10 linebacker in the league. You need Jordan Love to look like a top 5 quarterback in the league. And Matthew Golden needs to come in and look immediately like a bona fide stud at wide receiver 1, et cetera, et cetera. That was my takeaway. This is a good team. I think they are a good football team. They have good pieces. They have good players. They have a good coaching staff. They're just not quite great or the level of superstardom that maybe a team needs to win a Super Bowl. That was my big takeaway, but I still think this is a playoff team. I still think this is a team that's going to be in a loop for the NFC North title, and that's where I wind up.
To me, it's the biggest factor here is Jordan Love. Obviously, Devontae Adams helped during the later years for Aaron Rodgers. There was guys like Clay Matthews, Nick Collins. Different people emerged at different times. Jair Alexander, one of them as well. But I think if you get the superstar level play out of the quarterback, all of that sort of falls by the wayside. You start looking at the team differently. You start looking at their potential prospects differently. And then you probably, honestly, view some of the skill players even more highly because they will be beneficiaries of a better playing quarterback. Like you think of James Jones, who good player, but there was times he looked like he was like an unstoppable force when he was with Aaron Rodgers.
Totally.
He led the league in touchdowns one year, which is like
that was hoodie James Jones season,
yes,
right? Yeah, when he came back,
which I believe he didn't play the full amount of games, but he was the only reliable target for the Packers that year due to injury. That he became such a like you couldn't refuse him, and he was making great plays, but it was largely fueled by the great quarterbacking of one Aaron Rodgers at the time. I think this conversation is going to change a lot during the course of the year. The lack of superstardom, I think we'll probably have a discussion of 2-3 guys entering into that top 100-ish level player.
Hope you're right.
I think we could probably, like Edgerrin Cooper is the one everyone's looking at, who I've got to get to Potawatomi and place the Depoy bet on him.
Wow.
I love that idea. It's like plus 40,000 or something crazy.
Just put $5 down.
Right. Yeah. Just, and you lose it or not, but you got a guy who's potentially going to be like one of the bigger factors on the defensive side of the ball for really any team as an emerging star. And then I think you can make the case for Golden. You could make the case for Jayden Reed. You could make the case for, there's plenty of guys that like Evan Williams, who knows what he becomes in his second year with more playing time and more of a focus, less of being switched in and out if he's able to stay healthy. I think there's a lot of optimism to be had. It's just we feel like we're in a spot where we've sat around waiting for some of these guys to emerge, and there's been a failure to do that from a lot of the players on the Packers. Like at this point, Christian Watson should be a superstar based on draft capital, and even the highs we've seen from him as a rookie. He had all those touchdowns, and it was like, hey, there might be something here. We need to see more consistency, but this seems to be the type of player that's really going to emerge and blossom for the second half of the career, and that unfortunately hasn't happened. There's been injuries. There's been all sorts of factors that have gone into it. But I think with Matt LaFleur, you could probably eke out some more guys than you think if the offense is doing what it's supposed to. So I'm optimistic about it.
Yeah.
And I haven't had the chance to go back and listen to the full 3 hours of the program yet. I will be doing that. Was it as much of, because last year your big takeaway wasn't it like more considered almost funeral-esque, or like
that was 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago was Jordan Love's first year as the starter. That was funeral-esque because I came in and I said, well, this is going to be a weird year, right? But like, I'm optimistic. And Joshy, we've worked together long enough where I've always been high on Jordan Love.
Yes.
I never necessarily said, well, I think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I thought he would be a really good starting quarterback for a long time. And it's shaping up to seem like that will be the case for Love in Green Bay. But there were so many question marks 2 years ago entering 2023. Gabe and Jason both thought they were going to win 5 or 6 games. And I thought, I still think they're probably a playoff team, at best, probably a wild card team, right? And it's ultimately what they were. They win a playoff game, yada, yada. So I was on the right side of history. Last year, it was more so tampering expectations because they won a playoff game.
Tamping down.
Right.
Tampering would be...
That'd be messing with, colluding. You don't want to tamper with
They
things.
have tamper-proof seals on, like, food items.
Rain on the parade, but only a slight mist, right? It wasn't like they were saying, well, this team's going to take a huge backslide. But it was more so, well, they over-exceeded expectations last year. Now we can see if they can take a jump. And ultimately, they kind of did, right? They won more games in the regular season, but they didn't win a playoff game. Love was hurt all year, ultimately. So... last year was more tamping expectations.
There
tamping
you go.
Or damping.
You could dampen
expectations?
but you would be tamping down.
Tamping down, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said tampering.
It's
certainly
close.
the wrong. But it's definitely the wrong word.
100% is the wrong word. But I could see how you're talking a lot. You get hung up in the air.
So I do want to get to this, though, Josh, because this is something you've brought up, and Gabe took what you've brought up before and brought it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have one positive and one negative on wide receivers. My dude on the wide receiving core is who?
Jayden Reed?
Correct. And boy, did Gabe disappoint me on Saturday. Because he pointed out the Packers believe, at least to this point, through his first 2 seasons, the Packers believe in Jayden Reed a lot less than we do. And he provided incredible snap count data. Which I don't have on the top of my head. I think he played around 69% of snaps.
I can summarize, because I know where Gabe went with this without hearing it, is he didn't play a full freight of snaps for a guy who would be typically viewed as a wide receiver 1. In addition to that, he played even less snaps and I believe a drastically low, when you look across the league, number of snaps with 2 wide receivers.
Correct.
So when they changed their alignment and they only had 2 guys on the field, Jayden Reed was basically non-existent. His snap counts in 2 wide receiver sets were so few that it's closer to count it to 0 than actually a player, which is telling us the Packers view him closer to a gadget-style, slot-only receiver than a true wide receiver one who's going to be on the field as much as humanly possible. He's not a Devontae Adams, a Jamar Chase. You can rattle off just lists and lists of guys that are going to be on the field a ton and be used in multiple ways. Jayden Reed was basically used in one form and fashion. Now, there is potential here because I've seen some of the fantasy community and some of the guys who focus a lot of their attention solely on wide receiver as, hey, this guy was actually a lot better down the field and a lot better on the outside than he was given credit to. He just didn't give those opportunities. But the important part here is, do the Packers believe he deserves more opportunity on the outside, or are they going to sort of keep him in that role of a gadget slot-only receiver?
I would just say the other part from Gabe that maybe you haven't done a deep dive in that Gabe did was he looked at every team in the NFC North's number 2 receiver and their snap counts last year, and Reed was still significantly less than them.
Yeah, and that's because when you are in a situation...
that just for the record, that's Jamison Williams, Jordan Addison, and Roma Dunze.
Yes, those are guys who, when you go 2 wide receivers, they stay on the field.
Correct, and Reed didn't.
And even then, in some situations, it's not like Jayden Reed played 100% of the slot snaps.
No.
They had other wide receivers in those positions as well.
Yeah,
so from a full... And I think if you extrapolate it out even to other teams, you're going to see some... Like, the names you listed off are all names you can make a case for. Like, yeah, I mean, all 3 of those guys have first-round draft compensation.
Yep.
So you'd be like, yeah, of course they're going to force that guy.
Jamison Williams might have been a second-round pick because of the ACL. He was a first-round pick.
Yes,
okay.
I remember that distinctly because of how fast he ran.
Addison was 23 and Roma Dunze was 9.
Yeah. So, but as you go through the rest of the NFL, I think you would, like when you see like a name, like, and I'm pulling from the top of my head here, like a Christian Kirk.
Sure.
Or somebody who you would view as a far lesser player, you would be like, oh gosh.
I think it's funny you bring up Christian Kirk because he was actually brought up on State of the Packers.
Oh, yeah?
Because Edgerrin Cooper broke his collarbone last year.
Okay.
So he was mentioned.
I don't remember that, so that was impressive for that to be mentioned.
It was brought up by Jason, yeah. Or maybe it was Quay Walker or Edgerrin Cooper. I think it was Edgerrin Cooper. Just we were talking about his pure athleticism and brute strength and how he landed on Christian Kirk, who already broke his collarbone. So anyway, so a little bit of concern for Reed, but also year 3, maybe they trust him more. Obviously, that's natural development as you get further and further into your NFL career. The thing I am struggling to contain is the excitement for Matthew Golden. Now, I almost feel bad for him in terms of the expectations by our fan base is going to be extreme, especially as training camp and the preseason rolls on, and he's obviously going to pop off the page because of that speed and size and athleticism, and he is just a really, really fun prospect. Now, Matthew Golden was down in near his college town, his hometown of Houston this weekend, doing a football camp with Dick's Sporting Goods, and he did a couple of interviews. And I just want you to listen. Now, he doesn't call it the Lombardi Trophy. He calls it somewhere else. But he was asked for his individual goals for the 2025 season. This is what Matthew Golden said to reporters down in Texas over the weekend.
Definitely want to go get that Lambeau Trophy, man. That's the question mark we got in our team room is just filling in that blank. That's the last thing we need in that team room. And for us, that's all we talk about at practice is getting that trophy. So doing everything we can each and every day to get to that point and, just letting the rest be build up by itself.
And he also was asked about his chemistry with Jordan Love, which was a really fun answer, just saying, I got to earn it, but it will come, yada, yada. The Lambeau Trophy, though?
And Freudian slip.
Or, counterpoint, he's starting a new trend.
Stop.
I don't think that one's going to be a new trend.
Okay, but what if the Packers win the Super Bowl this year?
It would be the Lombardi Trophy inside of Lambeau Field.
It would be the Lambeau Trophy, though.
It would join other trophies.
But
Lombardis.
Or another counterpoint. Do you think he honestly just thinks it's called that because he knows, obviously, Vince Lombardi coached the Packers in Green Bay? And, one more point, the giant ass trophy in Lambeau Field. Do you think he just thinks it's called the Lambeau Trophy, maybe?
I don't think...
You think it was a Freudian
guy
slip.
who has dedicated his life. Now, all the reasons you gave are great explanations to why you would slip up,
or
why you could make that mistake,
or he just thinks it's called the Lambeau Trophy.
I want to give him more credit than that.
Okay.
Because I think you see the history, you hear about the history, you walk around, you're in Lambeau Field, you're going to Lambeau Field for practice to change, get in the locker room, all that stuff. I think he just slipped up.
Okay, fair enough. I tried.
Use the C- effort.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to fight to the death.
So what was the perception amongst the crew of Matthew Golden? Because my impression is, as somebody who's a bit more of a gambler than, say, Jason or Gabar, I think Matthew Golden is going to be probably a bigger factor than maybe the people who are trying to come at it with a reasoned standpoint.
No, I think we're all on the same page. You don't draft a wide receiver in the first round unless you expect them to be a massive part of your offense.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody, and this is talking what we previously just talked about, I don't think anybody has earned the right to keep him off the field. And if things aren't going the way you want them to, or you need a spark, you're going to look at
correct
the young kid.
He gets the benefit of the doubt that some of those other guys don't.
And I think he is deserving of it.
I agree.
I think there are cases where the Packers have been victim of this, where for some reason they're playing the less good option because of draft capital. But in this case, and we know nothing about him, we don't know how it's going to go, but just with the way rookie wide receivers have made contributions in their first year and the way the Packers offense struggled, it seems like they would be spiting themselves to not give him as much opportunity to blossom.
And frankly, that's what I believe will happen.
Yes.
I mean, to your point and to kind of what we discussed a little bit on Saturday around him was, I believe there are massive expectations for him because you don't use that level of investment unless you want him to make an immediate impact. Now, the counterpoint you could make is, well, look at the Packers' last first-round picks. They didn't utilize them right away in Lucas Van Ness and Jordan Morgan. So, yeah, I mean, I get it, but I just think this one's different. It was a clear need. It was a position that has not come along the way you had hoped. Despite you liking some of those pieces, a lot of those guys have proven to just be that.
I also think those 3 draft picks were made spiritually different. I think the Matthew Golden was a kick in the ass to everyone else in the room saying, this ain't good enough. You guys aren't good enough. And if you don't improve, you're not going to be here long. Whereas the others were sort of strategic, long-term. We're trying to make the betterment of the organization as a whole, where to me, drafting 2 guys in the top 3 rounds is figure it out or find yourself a new home.
Mm-hmm.
That is the way I would separate those picks, because neither of those picks were like, if this guy can't play, we're in trouble. We don't have a starter there.
You feel that way with Matthew Golden?
I don't, but I do to a degree.
Sure.
Like the way they split up the snaps amongst those guys was, we don't know who's the best here, so we're just going to throw a bunch of...
Yeah, we're going to throw guys out there and see who contributes.
And hope somebody each week can individually perform higher than we think.
Yeah.
Like, there is no level of job security. Like, Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith weren't going to lose their job when LVN get drafted.
No.
That, to me, was clear from the moment. As we saw, it wasn't long before Rasheed Walker locked up the left tackle position, a one that they said they wanted him to be in. Jordan Morgan said he wanted to be in. And then he ended up in a timeshare with Sean Ryan.
You'll hear this on Wednesday's edition of Mr. Irrelevant, but it is all of a sudden becoming a very clear possibility. Yeah, let me rephrase that. It is becoming very clear that it is not a foregone conclusion. Zach Tom will be locked up to an extension.
Yeah.
And I guess I had heard people say that, including Adam Stenovich, the offensive coordinator, that he was in a competition for his job, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Yeah, the Packers have not taken care of their offensive linemen recently.
No.
In terms of a financial perspective, which is very strange to me and unlike the Packers. But
it feels reactionary after the David Bakhtiari snafu.
Almost.
It feels like we can't do that again and not have that person play. bigger guys are more likely to have complications and lingering. Even though, as we've seen with Mark Tauscher, they're also like the biggest warriors.
Yes.
Where they'll play with like missing fingers and toes and it's stuff like that. But they're also recovery is more difficult and lends itself to having more potential complications.
And just one more thing, the other piece I would say on the offensive lineman is this is obviously a really unique year because 3 of your starters from last season and potentially 3 of your starters this season, Zach Tom being one of them, Rasheed Walker being another, and Sean Ryan being the third, they're all in contract years. They're all in the final year of their deal.
If I'm Zach Tom, I don't
show up to training
sniff. I show up. I hold in.
Oh, love style, yeah.
Yeah, I don't touch the field.
No.
And if anyone asks me what's going on, say I was the third option for All Pro, and I'm being paid like the 55th option.
Correct.
And for my family, for my long-term benefit,
I need a deal.
It would be not wise for me to risk that investment.
Correct.
Do you also think for the Packers, it's a little bit of arrogance? Like, oh, we can draft this position so well. Why do we need to bother? Like, we can just keep filling it. We're not going to have an issue.
Good question. The answer is yes and no.
Yeah, that's where I am.
The answer is yes from the perspective of they've continued to prove they can do that, and you're right on that. But for the Zach Tom piece of this by itself, the answer is no. I think it's just bad business.
Yeah, I think they view a lot of those guards and centers as quite interchangeable and that they believe in their development process to be able to bring along a guy who's going to be good enough to play there and hold up.
Sean Ryan.
I also think they and everyone understands the tackles are a little more important.
Yes,
and
but
those positions are also a little more difficult to get high-level play.
Agreed. But I guess I'd bring up guys like Yash Nyman, and now Rasheed Walker is another example, 7th-round pick, where they're just, they're performing, they're sufficient enough, and they're probably going to let their deals expire and let them walk. Now, hopefully that's Jordan Morgan at one point or another, but that's what they did with Yash Nyman a couple years ago.
I think they can find competent line play pretty much draft in, draft out.
Yep.
And I think they are justified in that because they've done so much as that. And it seems like that offensive line is the sum is greater than the individual pieces because those guys who've moved on from the Packers who were starters, multi-year starters, and many of them, Josh Myers and John Runyon both stick out.
Yep.
They basically didn't get much money when made available. And those are all guys who, you could say what you want about Josh Myers, certainly had his issues, but it wasn't like he was a constant issue.
Engaged man, by the way.
Good for him.
Congratulations to them.
Is it a beautiful love?
We're not doing that again.
Okay, so here's what I struggle with. I know her, or knew her, I should say. I haven't seen her in years. I went to middle school with her. From what I can tell from her Facebook posts, which is more information than I have from Jordan Love and Veronica Stone.
But still selected information she's choosing to put out there.
Correct.
I would vote yes. It is a beautiful love. They seem
more
very happy.
Beautiful love?
I didn't say that. I think Jordan and Veronica are about as beautiful as it gets. So I don't know if I'd go that far.
Did you bring that up on KBN ever?
Not KBN, but I did bring it up yesterday on Sunday Karma.
What was your reaction?
Kyle Wallace said, I can't say that. And then I said, can I say that about you and baby girl? And he said, that would still be really weird. You've only met her 3 times.
Yes.
See? When are you going to learn?
Oh, by the way, today is Ringo Starr's birthday. Of course, the drummer of the Beatles. And he asked
the
for
worst
everybody.
drummer on the Beatles.
Wow. Seemed unnecessary on his birthday, but regardless.
I believe his bandmate said that about him.
And he said it about himself.
Yeah.
He said that he would like everybody at noon their time, so we are an hour, 20 minutes late, at noon on his birthday, which is today, July 7th, to say peace and love. So peace and love.
I'm not going to do that.
Come on, Hunter.
We're 90 minutes late.
Hunter, come on. Hunter? You're holding up the show.
You're holding up the show.
Yeah, there's one person holding up the show.
Peace and love.
So Murphy takes 5, the last one ever.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Joshy,
Not doing it.
He gone.
peace and love.
Not doing it.
Peace and love, Mark Murphy. Hasta la vista, baby. The name of the column this month's Murphy Takes 5. This isn't over, just so everybody's aware.
I love that he's going Terminator reference.
Yes. It's just Mark Murphy epitomized. And he went on to write about regrets and lessons from his father. And I mean, it was a really good read.
I did like his preamble of, excuse me, this one's going to be long. Like, no, duh.
It's you, bro. Of course it's going to be long.
Right. We all know that everything from basically the draft on out, you are going to bask in the glory. I said on Jen Game and Chewy, as a avowed pat on the back guy, pat myself on the back quite often, I am but a young. What is the Star Wars reference? I am a Padawan,
Yep.
to the Jedi of backpatting.
He's great at it. He's great at it.
He loves it. He makes jokes about it.
Oh, but okay. So the best part of this column was somebody wrote in and said, my only disappointment with the previous 3 Murphy Takes 5, which was the penultimate, the third, the last, and fourth, the last. I just wanted to use the word penultimate.
Yeah.
Was that you haven't selected enough dumb questions or silly questions. And Mark Murphy,
I believe it was obnoxious.
Yes, obnoxious was the word.
Yeah.
You're correct. And Mark Murphy's response was, well, in honor of that gripe of yours, here are 2 silly ones, including this one, which I tweeted out the other day because it was so damn entertaining for me. I don't remember who it's from, but he says this. It's time Gutekunst calls Cincinnati and get Trey Hendrickson with an X. You have the money to bring him in. Don't F this up. He can change this whole defense. And you know damn well he can. Don't bleep this up. Don't bleep up this time. Fix this defense with one move, a-hole. And Mark Murphy just responds simply, no question, Sam, but thanks for your input.
There is an important Mark Murphy portion to this that we need to get to. The preamble of this was a question which didn't really contain many questions.
Correct.
It was a big congratulatory email from somebody who also happened to be a CEO for 17 years, who took after Mark Murphy and taking some of those obnoxious questions, regardless of what they were, and answering or addressing them. So before doing that, he said, I'm going to include this guy being extremely nice and complimentary of me, not really give much of a response, and then say, watch this, watch what I can do. I've got a few for you.
Yep.
It is a beautiful work of art from Mark Murphy and just everything we know him to be.
That's absolutely correct. Well done by you. Well done by you. So Murphy Takes 5 is over, which makes me very sad. Well, let me rephrase. It's over for now. If I was in charge of a newspaper, I would probably be picking up the phone.
I think we should be picking up the phone and making him a recurring guest or a member of the radio station. I think he needs more microphones.
So, great idea by me right here, which is also a great idea by you, which I'm going to claim.
I was going to say, is the idea one I just gave you?
Kind of. Yeah. No. Let me turn Murphy Takes 5 into a podcast.
Yeah. That was sort of what I was hitting at.
Yeah. We could literally just make it the Monday show of this show.
Well, not during football season. I want to react to the game. But
yeah, he
Wednesday,
would react
maybe.
to the game.
Oh, yeah, also true.
Yeah, and then take questions.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Oh, but I want his questions to be predetermined and pre-selected.
Well, of course they're going to be. You think Mark Murphy just opens up his email box and
Top
randomly
5,
selects
baby.
some?
I wouldn't doubt it.
No.
I wouldn't doubt it.
He conveniently has also managed to, within Murphy's Take 5, answer hyper-specific current things that maybe attempt to change the opinions on certain things, like paying rent, things of that nature. I would question if those emails ever existed, and maybe they were made up and sent to him.
Man, that's the beauty of theater right there. You never know. You only know what's presented to you.
Imagine a once monthly, or bi-weekly just Mark Murphy hour. Oh God. Murphy takes 57.
57.50.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Mark Murphy takes an hour.
I'm truly gonna miss these.
I think they sort of
They ran their course, but
yeah, I mean, half the time it was totally irrelevant to anything we'd ever want to talk to, but there was.
what are you talking about?
On
I talked about them every month.
Yeah, you forced it.
Sure, but
my favorite Mark Murphy was when he was trying to, for some reason, address people writing racist themed emails. Like, Mark, you're just going to give a paragraph to this? Like, is this what we should be doing with this space? People want to know about the Packers here.
Mark Murphy, baby, in all his glory.
Do you think Ed Policy kills it right away or keeps it going for a while? It's not as good and then spikes it?
No, it's done. It's done. I did tell Jason during State of the Packers, though. Next time you see Ed Policy, can you please ask for me?
I do think, to give like actual advice here, I do think some sort of forum for fans being able to communicate with the CEO, I think is a good thing and a thing they should continue to try and do. And maybe they do a quick video that's like a 10-minute video, and it's obviously going to be rehearsed, all that, but
right, FAQs of the month or whatever.
I think the community owned aspect of that does probably build a certain degree of favor within your fan base. Now, we get to answer that.
There is a development, because I was just looking at this on the website. Murphy Takes 5, sponsored by FedEx.
Oh.
So we may get this for a stretch, depending on what that deal is between the Packers and FedEx.
Okay, that's good point by you. Good catch. Good catch.
Yeah, FedEx says, hey, we want this to keep going.
Or if they have an annual contract.
Yeah, we got dollars behind this.
Oh, baby.
I'm sure that is one of the most highly clicked parts of their website, outside of like the team store, so...
Will it be called Policy Takes 5 or something else?
Something else.
I think they rebrand. I agree.
Yeah, I think you have to. It's become so synonymous with Mark Murphy. You have to rebrand it to a degree to just separate the two.
I would agree.
Also, Jen, Gabe, and Chewy this morning, we were talking the same situation here. I pondered the question, and I want both of you to answer it.
I heard this. Yeah, go ahead.
How long will Mark Murphy speak uninterrupted during the shareholders meeting?
Great line by you.
Because he spent 20 of the Matt LaFleur introductory press conference, a press conference not about him.
Sort of about him.
20 minutes, right. Well, as I continue here, sort of about him, and Mark Murphy makes everything about him way.
Correct.
This is about him.
Yep.
It's also about Ed Policy, but this is about Mark Murphy. I said he speaks for at least 30 minutes uninterrupted.
So here's the thing. It's either that or it's way under that. So I think it's either like, hey, you've heard enough from me over the years. It's been a pleasure. Here's your new president of policy, which I think is incredibly unlikely.
That would be self-aware.
That's a good point.
And I don't think I don't think he has a self-aware bone in his body.
Oh, that's not true. I think
not
he
a
does.
Bone.
I disagree. I think he's much smarter than we give him credit.
I think he thinks he's so engaging and interesting and funny
that
he believes he believes he's doing us all a favor.
But hold on a minute. Is he?
How often are you laughing with Mark Murphy or laughing at Mark Murphy?
It's certainly more
90-10?
at than with. I was thinking more 75-25.
I think you're being generous. I think you are. I think you have a special place in his heart, which is skewing the actual numbers if you were to break it down.
Yeah, that's probably a fair
I also
assessment.
think, and I texted this to Josh during Jen, Gabe, and Chewy, but
this is a good point.
The weather is going to determine this.
It is weather dependent.
It is.
If it's 85 and humid, he's going to cut that thing short because he knows what the
But hold
crowd's
on a
gonna be
minute.
like.
It was 85 and humid last year, and he went like an hour 10 as he went through the finances. I think there was one break for another person to speak that was very quick.
Yeah.
But he went like an hour 10 last year.
Yeah, and he's going to probably speak more than once. They're going to do like the stuff you have to do.
You are viewing it as the goodbye portion of the program.
Yes.
Which
This portion is about Mark Murphy and his last opportunity to speak to people.
Yeah.
And I got
So
over 20.
the way I've read it, and I might be wrong here, but the way I interpret what this owners meeting will be is a passing of the torch early.
Yeah.
And then I believe policy will run the meeting where they go over the finances, the public affairs initiatives, etc. I believe that's a policy joint this year.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to take the under, but it's probably not much under. Probably not much under. All right, we got to get to what we missed, what we learned, which is presented by Door County Distillery, locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. If you're heading up to Door County, make sure you stop in, do the tours, do the tastings, check out all the exclusive product on site, take a seat at the bar, kick your feet up, stay a while, or bring Door County to you. Grad parties, tailgates, family reunions are going on right now. I know that. Weddings. I got an invite to a family reunion.
I've never
today.
done a family reunion.
Yeah, I looked at the invite list for my family reunion, and only 6 people have said they're going. So that doesn't really seem like a reunion. It's just like a Saturday.
It's a hangout.
So it's just a Saturday afternoon hang.
It's a gathering. Get together.
Anyway, Door County Distillery, whiskeys, rums, gins, vodkas, brandies, and more. They're delicious. They're affordable. They're local. DoorCountyDistillery.com to find the retailer nearest to you. Guys, I'm hooked, and it's not good.
Love Island.
You got it.
Oh,
You got it. I'm hooked.
I stopped watching after I heard one of the girls talking about how STIs are from men being with animals. And I was like, nope, I'm out.
That was episode 1.
Yeah.
Oh, were they talking about the origin?
The origin of STIs.
Yes.
Yes.
The origin of them.
The classic theory, I believe, from monkeys is a long thing that's been an urban myth.
And then they said it was a historical figure, and they said he did something with, I forgot what it was, but I remember I Googled it when I was watching that, Hunter. That was very entertaining. We finished episode 15 last night, so we are still pretty far behind because I think we're like 30 episodes deep into the season. We started
every
super
day
late.
but hump day.
That's correct. You've watched enough. It is the trashiest, worst television of all time. It is cringy. It is uncomfortable. It is embarrassing. And oh my God, can I not look away?
Yeah, so
I'm addicted.
It's
so
modern Jerry Springer.
this
yes,
is
correct.
This is something that is on my TV quite frequently.
Mussolini watches it.
Yeah, I don't typically spend much time watching it. I have a really hard time not making snide remarks.
Same.
It's really hard for me also to it's hard for me to imagine myself in a similar situation, but I think there's something that happens to people. Now, granted, these people are experts at picking, at casting, so they know this person's going to be an insane person.
Correct.
And all we got to do is kind of poke and prod them to get there, and they'll likely do it. But it's really hard for me to understand how the people in these situations are able to suspend disbelief and to get so wrapped up in the moment and not be like, well, there's a camera facing me. This is obviously I feel like I would be too, well, they're trying to make us fight.
Yes.
They want this to go horrifically bad, and they want to watch me cry and scream and do all the insane things these people do. I do find myself, say we're eating dinner and it's on, I will find myself captivated for those few short minutes, but it wears on me too much where it makes me question reality. It makes me question where we are as a country, as a world, as a sort of where culture has gone, that I end up getting frustrated and walking out.
I hear you. I mean, so the meme that's been making the rounds on the internet is one of this woman. Her name is Huda. Okay, so she was with a guy by the name of Jeremiah for the first 2 weeks. And finally, America stepped in and broke him up. And it was a complete train wreck.
Yeah.
And so he started going on dates with this other girl who they call the new people on the island bombshells, right? So it's this new bombshell. And by the way, it's Love Island, dude. Everybody on this is a 10 out of 10 on the attractiveness scale. Everybody is gorgeous, right? And
some of them often enhanced.
yes, correct. I mean,
Most of them enhanced.
not all natural. I would imagine
Men and women,
There's
mind you.
plenty of BBLs and Botox going around here.
They got the Drake abs, the carved
Yes,
into,
correct.
the body sculpting.
Well, good Drake reference, by the way, with that picture I saw the other week.
Horrific.
Horrific.
Only man with a rippling six-pack and flabby arms.
Dude's just only doing crunches. Come on, Josh.
Yeah, right. Just crunches. But anyway, so she confronts the girl that he is now going on dates with, despite the fact he didn't pick this. America did.
Uh-huh.
And they went on their date. They went on the beach and like went on a boat, and that was it. And she says, "So what was the date? Can I ask?" And this girl replies, "Oh, we were just on the beach and talking." And she goes, "My dream date. Cute." And he knows that. And me and my girlfriend look at each other and we go, "Okay, well, we've seen these memes. We just got to this episode last night. But going on the beach and talking is your dream date?"
Yeah, of course.
Duh.
I just hate these
No,
people.
that was somebody filling in something to make it the other person feel worse. They could have said anything. It could have been something they hated.
Oh,
doing.
yeah.
Like we went
my dream date, right.
We went parasailing and like you have a fear of heights, but you're like, well, that was my dream date.
My dream date, and he knows that.
Yeah.
Ouch. So it is just I do you think these people realize, and not all of them are, and I hear that Huda, this isn't a direct shot at her by any means, but like I hear she has a redemption story coming, or as what I've heard through the woodwork. But do you realize how much you're making yourself look like a jackass on national television?
I think you do, and I think you understand that no matter the degree of jackassery you commit and you are a part of, that in the end, the financial and celebrity status is going to pay off.
Interesting.
Like, if you think back to some of the Survivor people who were horrific people to others on the island, they became like reoccurring, constantly on the show level of celebrity.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true. That's
And
true.
it behooves you to be more insane, to be able to take yourself to the brink of reality,
Yeah.
and then to sort of be able to step back and be, because think of all the other shows that are not even just dating, but even the like a Jersey Shore.
Yeah. Love that
Snooki
show.
Runaway Winner. She was bordering on somebody who like deserved help.
Yep.
But that was the way to make the most success.
That's true. I mean, but then again, I'm a trash television aficionado. I love all of these shows that are hard to watch. Temptation Island, probably my main one. I've been on that grind for like, I don't know, probably
That
8
show
years
to
now.
me is
The concept of that show is absolutely absurd.
Yes.
The fact that people willingly sign up to go
Yes.
on there with
Well,
their partner is crazy.
That's where it kind of all falls apart. Is everyone knows you're there because of the fame
Yeah.
and the money, but you're still willing to do it, but then you're still getting upset that it's not working out.
And you know what? Props to the couples that make it out of that. But I mean, it's just it's absurd. So anyway, that's my tangent for today. We are way late.
Talking about Love Island.
Talking about
I
Love
feel like
Island.
we just have to say this. Jermichael Finley's son committed to Notre Dame.
Yeah, I saw that. That
Yeah,
makes me
they're
feel
making
old.
like the former NFL
Yeah,
player.
so did was it Thomas Davis and Larry Fitzgerald's sons
Yeah.
also did? Yeah, I'm just old is what that we're all old is
Yeah.
what that means.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one became like, I feel like I just watched.
Well,
Jermichael
I got to talk to Brad. I haven't talked to Brad, but like obviously he played with Thomas Davis, so I imagine he
Yeah.
feels old as hell because he's got his first child on the way.
Yeah.
And his teammates,
Thomas Davis was an elder statesman at that time.
True.
But he's still a peer.
right?
Right.
I mean, that's just bizarre. So anyway, okay, that does it for us. Reminder: we will still have shows. It just won't be live. I'm going on vacation before football season gets underway. I'm going to give these guys some rest for all their hard work throughout the year.
It's a grind.
It is.
3
It
times
is.
a week.
Yeah,
with you.
dealing with you. Yeah.
I know it is. I know it
I'd
is.
need a 20% raise to go 5 days a week.
Talk to our bosses because it might be in the cards. You never know. All right, that does it for us today. Joshy, thanks for your time today. Hunter, good job as always. We will be back with you as a collective next Wednesday, but we will have shows the next 3 days from State of the Packers, or the next 3 occurrences, Wednesday, Friday, and Monday, from State of the Packers that will air live on YouTube and, of course, available in our podcast feed, ESPN Wisconsin app, Apple Podcast, Spotify.
Do you think you can send us out better than you did on the State of the Packers?
It can't be any worse.
Peace and love.